right, so this happened a few years ago, and it's still the craziest night I've ever had. Picture this, it's a Friday night, and me and three friends, Jace, Kayla, and Marcus, are at this small bar in rural Idaho. Nothing fancy, just a local place with pool tables, neon beer signs, and the same country songs that seem to play every weekend. The four of us had been there for a couple of hours. Marcus was getting way too competitive at pool, Kayla was making fun of everyone, and Jace was telling one of those stories that starts with, "Trust me, this actually happened," which usually means it didn't. Everything was normal. Then I noticed two guys sitting at a table near the back of the bar. At first I didn't think much about it, but after a while I realized they weren't really doing anything. They weren't drinking. They weren't talking. They were just watching. And eventually I realized they were watching me. Now I know how that sounds, but have you ever had one of those moments where something just feels wrong? Not because of anything obvious, just instinct. Like your brain notices something before you consciously do. That's exactly what happened. Every time I glanced over, one of them was looking at me. The other guy kept checking his phone and looking up. Finally, one of them pointed in my direction. That was enough for me. I walked back over to my friends. "We need to leave." Marcus laughed. "Because of what?" I nodded toward the men. The second all three of my friends looked over, the two guys stood up. At exactly the same time, the smile disappeared from Marcus's face. "Okay," he said. "That's weird." We didn't waste any time after that. We paid our tabs and headed toward the door, trying not to run, trying not to make it obvious. But the moment we stepped outside, I heard the bar door open behind us. The two men had followed us. Now everybody was nervous. Our car was parked near the edge of the lot, a silver Toyota Corolla. Not exactly the getaway vehicle you choose for a high-speed escape, but it was all we had. We hurried across the parking lot. Marcus unlocked the doors. I jumped into the passenger seat. Jace and Kayla climbed into the back. The second everybody was inside, Marcus started the engine. I looked behind us. The two men were crossing the parking lot quickly. "Go!" Marcus didn't need convincing. The Corolla peeled out of the parking space with all the speed a Toyota Corolla can realistically manage. We left the lot and headed away from town. For the first few minutes, nobody said much. Everyone kept looking over their shoulders, trying to figure out if we were being paranoid. Maybe they had just happened to leave at the same time. Maybe there was a reasonable explanation. Then Kayla looked through the rear window. "Guys!" Nobody liked the tone of her voice. A dark pickup truck had turned onto the road behind us. At first that wasn't unusual. Then Marcus took a right turn. The truck took a right turn. A mile later we turned left. The truck turned left. Nobody said anything. We all knew. They were following us. The farther we drove, the darker the roads became. Soon we were out in the Idaho countryside, the kind of place where there are more fields than houses. Long stretches of road with no streetlights. Nothing but trees, fences, and darkness. The truck stayed behind us, not speeding up, not backing off, just staying there, watching, following. The atmosphere inside the Corolla got tense fast. Jace kept checking the mirrors. Kayla had stopped joking completely. Even Marcus, who was usually calm about everything, had both hands locked onto the steering wheel. "Anybody got a plan?" he asked. "Drive faster," Jace suggested. "In a Corolla," Marcus replied. "Fair point." For about 10 minutes we wound through back roads while the truck stayed with us. Not a dramatic movie chase. No screeching tires, no explosions. Honestly, that made it scarier. It felt real, just us and them on empty roads in the middle of nowhere. Then Marcus suddenly snapped his fingers. "I know somewhere." "What?" "Ethan's house." Now Ethan was another friend of ours. He lived out in the country, only a few miles away. The good thing about Ethan's place was that you had to know where it was. The roads around it twisted through farmland and patches of forest. If you weren't familiar with the area, it was easy to miss. Marcus immediately headed that direction. The truck kept following. Right turn, still there. Left turn, still there. Another turn, still there. At this point, all four of us were watching the mirrors. The truck's headlights bounced across the road behind us. Then Marcus spotted something, a narrow gravel road, the kind that looked more like a farm access lane than an actual road. Without warning, he turned onto it. The Corolla bounced violently. Everybody yelled. The suspension probably filed a complaint. Dust exploded behind us. The road curved through a cluster of trees before splitting into two different paths. Marcus took the left fork. A few seconds later, we reached another intersection and immediately turned again. The Corolla was rattling like it was held together by hope and good intentions. Finally, Marcus killed the headlights and pulled behind an old equipment shed. We sat there in complete darkness. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. A few moments later, headlights appeared through the trees. The pickup truck. It rolled past the intersection we just crossed, then kept going, straight ahead, never seeing us. The truck disappeared into the darkness. For several seconds, nobody breathed. Then Jace whispered, "I think we lost them." We waited another minute just to be sure. Nothing. No headlights, no engine, no truck. Finally, Marcus started the car again. "Let's go." 10 minutes later, we turned onto Ethan's driveway, and honestly, I've never been happier to see a house in my life. The porch light was on. His old pickup was parked outside. Everything looked normal, safe. We pulled into the driveway and climbed out. Ethan opened the door before we even reached it. He looked at us standing there, covered in dust and looking terrified. "What happened to you guys?" We all started talking at once, trying to explain, interrupting each other, pointing back toward the road. By the time we finished, Ethan was just staring at us. Then he shook his head and laughed. "So let me get this straight." We nodded. "You went out for drinks?" "Yep." "Got followed by creepy strangers?" "Yep." "Escaped through Idaho back roads?" "Yep." "In a Toyota Corolla?" Unfortunately, Ethan laughed so hard he had to sit down, and honestly, once we knew we were safe, we started laughing too. Because looking back on it, the funniest part wasn't getting chased. It was the fact that our grand escape vehicle was a silver Toyota Corolla carrying 4 terrified people down gravel roads in the middle of nowhere. And somehow, against all odds, it got us home.